Okay, so let's get this fired up here. As you will recall, I kind of bailed on Inktober because because I'm a loser and I never finish anything I start. So instead, I kind of hit Drawabox and have been working my way through that. I'm not quite through the lines homework. I've got 4 of the 5 pages done. I'll show those to you here in just a minute. But then, of course, I have to do the ellipses homework, and I have to do the what's the other one? The boxes homework. I'm told that's the one where everybody just like loses their shit and they don't finish. That's the one where everybody gives up, is in the draw 250 boxes part of the challenge. And also the perspective boxes. You're supposed to draw like a wheel of boxes where you start with a box in the middle and then you rotate it a little and a little more and a little more and a little more until you get to the outside. And then you just kind of expand that into kind of a half dome of boxes. And I'm told a lot of people give up on that one and feel like it's beyond their abilities. I don't feel like it's beyond my abilities. And let me just kind of go through here. I did the repeated lines thing where you're supposed to draw like 8 of a given line in a particular space. And I feel like I did okay on this, but man, did it eat a lot of the ink from that pen, because when I got around to doing the ghosted lines thing, one of the things that I've got on this is even when I ghost the lines, I have weird kind of, sometimes my pen gets a little shaky, and sometimes my pen arcs. Like right here, you can see that arcs there. And you can see in the second page of repeated lines, I tried to do some curves, and this one in particular, that went like off the rails completely. Let me go ahead and do red ink, so any kind of annotations that I make. But you can see that I did a whole bunch of lines here, and then over here I did the ghosted planes stuff, and these are a mixed bag. I mean, I feel like some of them are okay, but others are just, I get really, really off, and then I go through, and then I just like, I fix the line. Sometimes I get like right here, I got this weird little hook in there. It's just the technique that I'm using, it's not working very well. And I don't like the sketchbook that I'm using. I've got this sketchbook that I've been using to do these in, and I'm not fond of it. I don't feel like it's providing the right experience. So I'm going to switch that out and use something else. And I think that what I may do is kind of move my keyboard, because I have this fairly substantial keyboard here, which takes up a lot of space. And if I just kind of lift it up, ooh, it'll stay like that, won't it? That actually works pretty well. You could actually just tip it up and then tip it back down when I'm done. Should actually work just need to clean off this desk, which is an ungodly mess. Space under my synthesizer, so it's got a bunch of crumbs in there. Go ahead. Throw some cleaner on. And actually, that should work out pretty well. Yeah, that'll give me a good surface to work on over here. I could use that as kind of a desk. I got to worry about fixing my I got music to record at some point, and everything is going wrong with my music setup. So that's very frustrating, and I'm not sure what exactly to do about that. But that is definitely something I am going to be approaching at some point in the near future. And let's see, where was I? Oh yeah. So anyway, I've got 4 of the 5 pages of my lines homework are now done, and because those 4 pages are now done, I can do the 5th page. And I'm actually thinking, maybe because I'm not happy with the way this sketchbook works out, maybe what I want to do is just redo this entire thing with a different setup and a different sketchbook, because I feel like this seam right here, I feel like that was in the way of my hand a lot. Because you come over here, and a lot of these lines, I couldn't get my hand on the paper very well because of that seam, and I couldn't turn the paper in an appropriate direction where things felt right because of the edge of the page and the edge of the book, and I just didn't feel good about the whole thing. So so I don't know, maybe I want to start over and just like do the entire lines homework over again. But in any case, tonight is supposed to be like my 50-50 stuff, because the work that I did on these, I'm supposed to equal with just regular drawing work. And I haven't done any regular drawing work this week, because I'm a loser and don't do anything right. But yeah, that's where things are with that. And I think I am going to redo this homework. I don't really like using this sketchbook for that. I don't feel like it's the right paper. I don't feel like it's the right format. I'm not pleased with it. I kind of liked it when I was like, oh, everything will be bound in this sketchbook and then it'll be available and I could show it to people. Who the fuck am I going to show it to anyway? I don't know. But I started following somebody on Tumblr. Well, a couple of people on Tumblr. And one of them is something that I can show here. So I've been following somebody called Otaku Erotica, which is like all kinds of anime porn. And I've been following somebody else called 90s Anime. And I'm looking for a post by 90s Anime that I can grab. And why is everything in my feed Otaku Erotica? I mean, like, surely 90s Anime has posted something today. Why is my feed dominated by the porn? I love that about Tumblr, by the way. And then it's like full of porn. There's porn everywhere. It's like, all right, that's cool. But, God, where the hell is it? Surely they posted something. Good Lord. It's just like it's nothing but... It's nothing but the porn today. It's all porn. Nothing but porn. That's all I've got on my feed today is porn. Which I'm not really complaining. It's just that, you know, I wanted to show you an example of something, and I'm not seeing any examples I could show you. I'm seeing examples. It's just that, you know, they're porn, so I gotta grab partials. In fact, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to grab a couple of partials on this. Now, if you're on the Discord, you can check in NSFW2D, and we've got the actual full pictures of a couple of these and my thoughts on them. But one of the things that I was looking at was I I was looking at the style of various old 90s anime images, and this is not out of my reach, because you look at this and what we've got here is everything is cell shaded and everything kind of has a shadow and highlight tone along with the mid-tone. And then there's like the shadow right there, and here's the shadow right here. And then you've got shadow in the hair, you've got highlight in the hair, you've got mid-tone in the hair is like everywhere else. You've got highlight on the jacket, mid-tone on the jacket, shadow on the jacket. And everything's pretty well divided, and there's just some stuff around the form of the anatomy that I need to work with. But the important thing here is that, why did I put all of that on the core layer? That add layer? That's add layer. Okay. All right. So you've got like kind of this thing, and the anatomy aspect of this is really not all that difficult. And as I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, this is not that far out of my comfort zone. Even when you look at like the fingers and the hands, those are kind of shit, you know? So you can do stuff that's kind of shit, but if we just get kind of ruthless about, what's going on here that isn't going on in my work. What's not going on in my work is the line art is very clean. It's very clean, and it's very sort of minimalist, you know? And there's a better understanding of where the shadows sit, you know? Like there's a better understanding of the light and the shadow. You've got a little rim lighting over here. You've got actual highlighting here. You've got a mid-tone down under there. There's shadow. Like the shape of this shadow here, okay? The shape of that shadow, that is not something that I would just automatically think of as the shape the shadow should be in that location. It's the same thing here. It's like exactly where the shadow ends up on the leg. I need to start thinking about how to work around that. And then you've got kind of a darker shadow here. But this kind of stuff, I'm really kind of, I want to work on my fundamentals, and I want to get like more, I mean, I'm trying to do everything at once, you know, and trying to do everything at once is obviously going to take forever, and it's going to have an impact on short-term goals. In the long term, working on the fundamentals and the idea of, I want to be able to draw anything. I want to be able to make anything that comes to my mind. You know, like when I think, I want to do this thing, I want to be able to think in my head, well, to do that thing, I need to do this. Like, you look at a lot of this stuff, like some of the, there is a, there's a bunch of stuff like, oh, this is from a computer game, it looks like. But there are certain types of, content where it's like, I didn't get quite a slice of that. Got to avoid getting all of the naughty bits, which makes things a little difficult. So what we're looking at right here, this is obviously tentacle porn. So we've got the tentacle that comes up here and that wraps around the girl's midsection. And I don't particularly have any interest in tentacle porn, but a tentacle wrapped around a girl's midsection bears at least some minor resemblance to somebody's intestines falling out. And that's kind of the important thing there is you go, well, you know, it has to be round and it has to be wet and it has to be kind of glistening and soft and wrinkled and slimy and gross. And then there's the question of blood stains and how blood runs and pools and that sort of stuff. That's something that I need to do some study on. That'll be something I need to run some suspicious searches around. But when you look at stuff like this, you just go, this line art, this is very clean line art. It's very well done, and the cell shading is really great. And you can see here that from the way the shading is on this, you can see that this isn't just a blood stain. This is actual, like, tattered flesh hanging out and around. And you can tell that because it's got a shadow behind it around this area. And that shading and that sort of, I mean, I've kind of done that sort of thing with hair, because hair comes down and then the hair has a shadow behind it. So you kind of like, you have the bits of hair that are coming down and being there, and then there's the shadow of the hair behind it. But there's a lot of stuff that, because I want to be able to draw like anything that comes to my mind and just go, oh, I need to do a person that's doing this thing, and I need to be able to go in there and just like draw the thing that I need to draw. But there's also the question of I need to do specific study on what it is that I'm working on drawing, which is, of course, it is the 10 penzogami and also the let me jump in here, grab this. So it's the 10 penzogami, and then on top of doing the 10 penzogami, I also have to have the 10 different varieties of filthy perverts. That's going to be fun, because I was doing some thinking about this, and what I kind of want to do to add additional power up and game length to the initial clicker game is I want to have the recruitment of an army. And I think that's important for continuity between the two games, because when you move from Groping Festival to Stop Groping Me, there needs to be an army of filthy perverts gathered in Groping Festival that is there to be chasing and assaulting the women in Stop Groping Me. So in order to have that go on, rather than just have it suddenly, yes, and by the way, there are armies of filthy perverts. In Groping Festival, it will be part of the progression that you're building this army of filthy perverts, because that's very important. And then the army of filthy perverts is, of course, also the set of enemies for I'm not going to let you filthy perverts peep at my little sister in the hot springs, which obviously is a joke based on the inane length of light novel titles. But I've been I've been thinking about the future of this. One of the things that I notice when I look at these 10 individual these 10 individual images that I put together, and I think about the order that I did them in. Aya is clearly the first one I did. This looks awful. But then immediately after Aya, I did, I think the next one that I did was Shizuki over here. And I wasn't too happy with that. I wasn't too happy with Yumi. I really thought Fumiko got thoroughly fucked up. But then things started to get good. And Chio started to feel like I got somewhere. And I got somewhere with the shading on this. I felt like the shading on Chio was really kind of well done. And I thought the hair on Haruka was really well done. And then when I got over to Sora, I didn't do much work at all. And Kyoko, I didn't think was all that great, but Nara, I thought I did pretty good on. And then theoretically, Ichigo would have been the best, but there are elements of this that I think are better than any of the previous efforts. And there are also elements of this that I think are clearly worse. And that's one of the frustrating things is I see that I make progress in one place, like Haruka's hair turned out really, really well. Sora's and Nara's hair did not turn out as well. I feel like Kyoko's hair came out pretty good, but it doesn't hit like Haruka's. So I feel like a lot of this stuff is spotty, and I'm not making the progress from one image to the next the way that I ought to be. And I'm not sure how I want to address that. One of the thought processes that I've been working with on this, and one of the things that I've been considering is that instead of concentrating on like a whole figure solution, why is this coming up like this? Let's see. Instead of working on a sort of whole figure solution where I begin with the exact pose that I'm looking for and all of that, what if I concentrate on like specific studies and I do a bunch of stuff on knees, and I do a bunch of stuff on what if I like work specifically on particular parts and then try to apply that? And another thing that I've been thinking is, what if I go back and fix these images instead of just trying to draw new ones? Like, what if I go back and improve the images and try to take them in a new direction and get things to look better? And of course, I am frequently guilty of overthinking. I often just kind of sit here and go, I'm not sure what to do. And I'll sit there being not sure what to do for an extended period of time. But, yeah, I think about going in and fixing the images that I've already done. And I think about potentially doing new images that are different. And I think about maybe working on parts. Like maybe I just need to start with what I'm not very good at. And work from that until, I mean, like all of the hands in this image need to be reworked and redone. So like if I come over here, this is the, let me just throw it up. But it's like all of the hands, could stand to be redone. This one in particular, that's pretty bad. That one's not bad. This one is awful. This one is awful. All the hands could be revisited on all of these pictures, and they would be vastly improved if I could do a better job on the hands. And at the same time, it's like there are issues on all of these that I could go in and just kind of like individually fix. I'm just not sure whether that's the right way to go on this. Like, do I want to do individual studies and then go in and fix each of these individually, or all of them in a bunch, or what have you? I'm just not certain how I want to approach this. I want to make progress toward getting the work done on these characters, and actually get some work accomplished toward producing the game, so that the game is actually somewhere approximating being playable and marketable in the relatively near future. And I just like, I mean, when I look at the particular level of skill that's evidenced on a lot of these older anime pictures, it's within the bounds of my skill level. Okay, there's no reason I can't draw this stuff. You know? And I have drawn stuff like this in the past, and it's just, I need to close that gap. I need to cross that little bridge of, I'm looking at something and going, I could draw that. Well, why don't I? Well, why don't I draw something like that? And I can see kind of what the issue is, which is I'm not as good with the light position as I want to be. Oh, that's nice. That is a neat little series of pictures. Never mind. I just got kind of distracted by some art coming across my timeline. But looking at these 90s anime images, it's like I can see exactly how I would draw more or less the same thing, you know? And you look at stuff like, if you take a picture from Sailor Moon, for example, like, there's no reason I couldn't draw that. That's fairly simple. But why don't I? Why isn't that a thing that I not only can do, but am doing? And I don't have a good answer to that. My line art isn't clean enough, you know? And there are elements to this, like I can see that there's some stuff in this image that isn't ideal. For example, we've got, here's the upper arm, and here's the forearm, okay? And the forearm is foreshortened here, but it looks a little bit off. And then similarly, we have the question of, here's the other arm over here, And then here's the upper arm from that arm, and apparently it comes back a bit. So this would be where the arm ends up, I guess. There are some weirdnesses to that, but those weirdnesses don't really matter. And then I look at the hands and I go, well, these hands, those are within my ability to draw. There's no reason they're not. But that's not the way I would typically try to draw hands. And I look at that and I think, I don't have the instinct for that. Like even this highlighting, the areas these highlights are, these are the right places for highlights, but it's not where I would naturally think of putting the highlights. And I'm not sure how to train myself to put the highlights and shadows in the places that the shadows go. And I try thinking about like the planes of the body and the curvature of the skin, but it's really not, it's not getting me any closer to being able to do this. So that's really something that I struggle with, is figuring out how exactly I'm going to put the artwork together in a way that not only matches the style that I'm going for, but is also accessible and not something that I have to wait years to achieve. Because I mean, I've been working on this game, what, 2-3 years, something like that, a long time, and that's way too long. It's way, way, way too long to be working on this project. I should have gotten more stuff together by now. I just don't. Is it? I don't know how to characterize it. I'm just I feel like I'm making progress and I'm achieving things. Just don't feel like the things I'm achieving are actually getting me closer to my goal. So I'm trying to come up with a way that I can get closer to my goal and actually achieve something meaningful in that regard. But I don't know. I don't know how to. I don't know how to appropriately make progress toward my goal while still focusing on the fundamentals and not like learning bad habits and just shortcuts. I mean, I do need shortcuts, but the shortcuts need to be consistent with they need to be consistent with actual fundamentals. So I'm not sure how to go about doing that. And I know that for the past like several weeks, I've been sitting here going, I don't know, I'm not sure what to do. I don't know which direction to go. I don't know what I'm going to work on. But at least I am pushing forward on the Drawabox challenge. And I'm getting something done. And, by the end of next week, I should have a pretty clear picture I should finish the ellipse stuff this weekend, and then probably get through the rest of the box homework over the course of the next week. Or then again, you know, maybe I'll just do the ellipses next week and then the boxes the week after. But then when I get to that 250 box thing, well, that's where everybody kind of goes, yeah, no, fuck this shit. so, so I don't know if I'm going to do that. I don't know if I'm going to end up in a place where I'm feeling the same kind of pressure and the same kind of frustration that everybody else apparently feels, and I don't want to move forward with this. And I'm not sure how or even if I'm going to be able to push through that. You know, it's really easy to just like be supremely confident and say, I'm going to finish this, I'm going to do this thing, and I'm going to do it right, and I'm going to do it well. But blunt reality is that I give up on stuff a lot. I get frustrated and I get upset and I move on from things. And all I've been trying to do lately is I've been trying to go, let's at the very least not move on from things because we're bad at them, but because they don't seem to be moving us toward the goal. And Inktober was not moving me toward the goal. It was just frustrating me and upsetting me. It was a source of stress. And I feel like Drawabox is actually getting me to work on fundamentals. I don't feel like I'm learning anything, but I see a difference in the quality of my work on the exercises as I go. And there is a certain amount of perspective work that gets done in here, and I need to work on perspective. So that's definitely a thing. I really want to get some feel for doing background building. One of the things I have trouble with is that if I have a background with like an established ground plane, it is very difficult for me to depict someone actually standing on that ground. I always had this issue where people don't feel like they're standing on the ground. They feel like they're kind of floating somewhere. And I don't know how to fix that. I don't know how to appropriately portray a character's relationship with the ground. I've kind of tried to think about this. And one of the things that I've been thinking about is that, like, you know, your feet are kind of these boxes at the end of your legs. And your feet have, you know, a ball underneath the big toe right here. And then there's the heel back here. So between the heel and the big toe, you could kind of draw a little triangle. Okay? And that triangle, I feel like this rectangle right here, this is the foundation of your body. Okay? And if you lift up a heel or a toe, then what you do is you turn this into like a tripod. And somewhere inside of this space right here needs to be pretty much your entire body. Like, no matter which direction you lean, in order to maintain stability, you need to have the center line of the body come through that. And I kind of feel like this needs to come up to the chin. So it's like, even if you're leaning over to the side or something, this line coming up from a particular place between those, that needs to come up to your chin. So I need to work out a way to understand that, and this is just an idea that I'm thinking about because I'm looking at pictures of like how people stand. You got kind of the sole of the foot, and then on the other side, if the foot's lifted, you just have the ball of the foot on the ground. So then typically the lifted foot over in this vicinity, that's where you would want to have kind of the chin. I need to work on my construction. The construction methods that I use to put things together need to get into like need to get into the basic construction methods that put people together, and I don't have a consistent process yet, and I don't know if I'll be able to develop a consistent process until I develop a better end product. Maybe what I need to do is spend more time working from reference and less time working from imagination. Maybe I want to find the specific poses I'm looking for. Maybe I want to work from 3D models, pose those. I don't really feel like 3D models help. They're difficult to pose. I don't feel like posing them works out well for me. Um, I I kind of feel lost in stuff. I've got all of these things that I could do. I got all of these choices that I can make, and I'm just not sure which ones are the right ones to take. So I'm doing the Drawabox thing, but it's not getting me any closer to producing these. I'm gonna need 100 different pictures of these guys because each one of them, I'm gonna need 10 images of each one. I got to thinking about that. Previously, I had a plan where there was going to be like 6 levels. Okay, there would be 6 different backgrounds, and all of the girls were going to need 6 different outfits. And then I went through and I selected 6 of the Pantsugami to be the boss of a given level, and that left 4 of them not being the boss of a level. Well, that's not right. I need to give those 4 a level to be boss of too. Everybody needs to have their own level to be boss of, and now there's going to be 10 levels, and that just expands everything. But then that also gives you a natural matchup for the individual different filthy perverts, because we're going to have 10 different filthy perverts and 10 different Pantsugami, and we're going to have 10 different levels. And at some point, I have to start thinking about how the horde survival game works, and whether I want to give each individual person their own standard weapon to start with. I mean, usually that's the kind of thing you do. But on the other hand, you could just give them all the same weapon to start with and just have them build from that. And I don't know how I'm going to construct equipment progression or character progression for that. but that's not going to be too terribly difficult to work on. And I don't know how the unlocks are going to work. Like, do you have to beat this level with this character to unlock the next level? One of the things I was thinking was, you know, you start the game and you get one of the girls and the level that she's boss of, and then once you beat that level, you unlock the next girl and the next level, and when you beat that level, you unlock the third girl, and so on and so forth. You have the individual levels that they're on. I need to sneeze. It's being obnoxious. The sneeze does not want to happen. I hate it when I get stuff like that. When it's just like, there's a sneeze, but it's not going to come out. It's not going to happen because that's obnoxious. I remembered to turn down my mic before blowing my nose this time. But yeah, I'm thinking about the game progression. I'm thinking about the game storyline. I'm thinking about God, how I'm going to do the branching in the visual novel, and how I'm going to do the story progression on that, and what that's going to look like, and what that's going to work like. And I'm kind of overwhelmed by the amount of work it is, and I'm trying not to think too much about it. But it's all stuff that's got to be done and stuff that's got to be put together. I need to think about the choices in the visual novel, because you know I could do it in like the Higurashi style where there are no choices. This is the story. You go through the story. This is the story. But I could also do it in Sayano Uta style where there are a few different choices and there's a good end and a bad end and a very bad end. And that's another option. But then on top of that, I mean, I could get really complicated with lots of different storylines and lots of different branching and evolution. And I'm not sure. I am not sure exactly how much of this I want to fit together. You know, I kind of feel like quote unquote you, the protagonist of Groping Festival, is also the protagonist of I'm not going to let you filthy perverts peep at my little sister in the hot springs. I feel like that might be kind of an important thing where you're like, oh, it's okay for me to be going around groping these girls. Oh, wait a minute. What about my little sister? I don't want filthy perverts groping my little sister. This is bad and wrong, and I don't want anything to do with it. And I kind of feel like that should be the protagonist of the visual novel as well. And then, I don't know, maybe you have the three girls from the tower defense game are like your allies, and they help you gather information and find stuff out, and you have to go around and talk to all 10 of the Pantsugami or something. I don't know. I'll come up with something. I'm not sure how I want this I'm not sure how I want this to fit together, and maybe I want you to switch points of view and like be different people as you go through this. Hmm. And I don't know if I want there to be like an internal game aspect to the visual novel as you go through this. You know what? Maybe instead of a visual novel, it should be a JRPG. That might be interesting. Maybe huh. So maybe it's a JRPG and it has boss battles, but this time, instead of going around groping the Pantsugami for their panties, you're assisting the Pantsugami in recovering their panties from the 10 filthy perverts. So kind of an atoning for your past sins kind of thing. That might be interesting. That's a neat idea. I have RPG Maker. That's absolutely something that I could pull out and work with. Huh. That might be a direction to go with this. Maybe instead of a quote unquote visual novel, I do an RPG Maker game, and I save the visual novel for Yandere Harem. Visual novel format. That might work out pretty well. Anyway, God, and I still have to do all the tracks. Well, I only need one music track for Groping Festival, but it needs to be a long one. It needs to be a long one because you're going to be listening to it on loop over and over again, and I kind of feel like it should be at least 20 minutes. So it doesn't get boring. But, yeah. Anyhow, I have again just like rambled for an hour and not bothered to do anything meaningful the entire stream because I'm a loser. I'm not a loser. I'm just, I'm wrestling with stuff, and I feel like maybe it is useful to people if they see me wrestling with stuff. And then once they've seen me wrestle with stuff, they can go, oh, it's okay to wrestle with stuff because everybody wrestles with stuff. That guy wrestled with stuff. You won't think it's okay just yet because, you know, right now I'm nobody and I've done nothing. But eventually I will have done something cool and you'll think that I'm a cool person for doing cool things. And you'll go, hey, the cool person who did cool things, he has trouble figuring stuff out. Maybe it's okay for me to have trouble figuring stuff out. It's the way things ought to go. At some point, Yumi has to get feet, shoes. Shizuka needs to get confidence. That's one of the big things that. That's one of the big things I did wrong on this. Was when you look at Shizuka and Kyoko, they're very kind of shy and withdrawn and have very nearly the same pose. But these are goddesses. They're not shy and withdrawn. They may be demure, they may be calm, but they're not going to be like, oh dear, oh no, somebody is looking at me. That's not how they're going to be. So I need to think about how to rectify that. I need to think about how everybody's going to have 10 different outfits. That's 100 different pictures there, and then there's like 200 additional assets that need to be made, and that doesn't even count. I gotta draw Ollie at some. And when I draw Ollie, I'm going to have to do him in a whole bunch of different poses and a whole bunch of different facial expressions. I'm going to have to write all the dialogue for him to run the tutorial. And I'm also going to need 10 pictures of the various different filthy perverts. I haven't done any work on the filthy perverts yet. And then all of this is going to have to be redone in all of this is going to have to be redone in a pixel art style after this. God, I'm going to have to learn how to use Sprite. I'm going to have to learn how to compile Sprite. Okay. But yeah, that's where stuff is right now. That's me wrestling with the same stuff that I'm always wrestling with, and working on the same stuff that I'm always working on, and making the same complete fucking lack of progress I always make. I do feel like I could work on quality of line art. For all of these. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know exactly the right way to go from here. Some of the pictures that I did during the character design phase are actually good, and I'm reasonably proud of them, but all of them have so much wrong with them and really need to be improved in a bunch of different ways, which is frustrating. But you know, it is what it is, and we are closing up on the hours. Do the little YouTube dance, like, comment, subscribe, all of that happy horse shit. Hit the little bell icon. You know, one of the things that I really need to look at is I really need to look at whether these I need to look at whether these element assignments make sense. Does it make sense to assign the queen to the wood element? Does it make sense for the mystic to be assigned to water? I think it does make sense for the mystic and the priestess to be assigned to water. Should the mother and the maiden be fire? I don't know. I just don't. I need to figure out what it is that I'm doing with these. The huntress and the healer, opposite sides of metal, maybe? But maybe opposite sides of earth? Maybe they should be fire. Maybe the mother and the maiden should be metal. I don't know. I need to do more research. Oh God, there's so much work to do. So much work to do. Oh God. It's just overwhelming. I look at the amount of stuff that there is left to do, and I just don't know. I don't know. But yeah, that's where things are. That's where things are going. And okay, bye.